Hey, Hickok 45 here. Notice I've got a favorite firearm in my hand. When John and I returned from Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Second Amendment rally, hanging out around Independence Hall and the park there, just couldn't help but want to come home and pick up something that represented freedom, right? Either this or my flintlock, I wasn't sure which one. But anyway, I had a good trip, and I know a lot of you asked about it. You wanted to see some video of it. We don't always do a travel log, as you know. We go places and do things and just enjoy it and don't always get the camera out. But we did cover some of this. John dragged the camera along, and we got a little bit of footage there in Philadelphia especially. And interesting speakers, not me of course, but there were some interesting speakers at the rally, and hopefully you captured a little bit of that feeling for you and around there in Philadelphia. I thought we'd share it with you. Nothing spectacular, just wanted to share it with you. It was a great trip. John and I really enjoyed it. A lot of miles, but it was great seeing Gettysburg and Philadelphia and all the good stuff there. I always want to call it the dinner bell, the Liberty Bell. And Washington, you might have seen the idiot on the lawn there at Washington, D.C. on the mall there, doing the FAQ already. But anyway, we had a good trip, and it was a great rally. It's always fun to meet you all there. Met a lot of you there, and to just mix and mingle with people who have the Second Amendment on their minds and the Bill of Rights on their minds. Doesn't get any better than that, does it? So anyway, take a look, and for your edification.
America today. I put up a lot of crap, but I still do it every day. I do it for my father, for what he fought for in Vietnam, for what my grandfather fought for in World War II. We spent 2 years in a Nazi prison camp fighting Hitler. Sons of Guns, Chris Ford and Stephanie Hayden. By the way, I didn't think I was going to get to introduce Stephanie. I'm like, why do I get to introduce Chris and not Stephanie? Well, thank y'all. Thank y'all very much. We are honored to be here, first of all. We got a little something to say, and totally agree with the majority of the people here. The people that haven't seen the show, I still agree with you. Just speak up a little bit. I have no clue what makes us any better or worthy of being up here. But all I can say is I'm honored, and I appreciate it. Second Amendment rights. Save the second, save the first, save them all. Save us. Who can save us? Who can or we can? No one can. It really doesn't matter. I've asked these questions and asked these ideas. I asked many fellow Americans the same question I was asked and tasked with answering. That question is, what does the Constitution mean to you? Do you feel your rights as Americans are being threatened? Do you feel your citizenship is being threatened? Particularly, what does the Second Amendment mean to you, and is it being threatened? I asked multiple people from California, Florida, Louisiana, Philadelphia. I've all across, barbers, just tons of people. And in your basic town, as much as 9 out of 10 people I asked, but yes, one or more of the Americans' rights were being threatened. This sadly did not surprise me. As I listened to my fellow Americans, I heard explanations ranging from the economy to the Illuminati, the army to the art of war, for the reasons as to why we might be feeling threatened. And I'm going to say that while the why is very important, it's not the focus. The focus should be on how they can threaten us, why they can threaten us, why they can't threaten us, who can threaten us. information that would answer these questions could educate so many citizens. From senators and representatives, the civilians and the civil servants, I've spoken to barbers and battle-hardened soldiers, school teachers, to salesmen, construction workers, contract players, and all of them are concerned.
Me and my husband have a lot of the same beliefs, and that's why we're standing here talking to you together. There's no point in us coming up here and both saying the exact same thing, so I'm just going to say what he said. But I also, of course, want to tell you guys thank you. The fact that we're even someone that you want to listen to is amazing to us. I can tell you about 5 years ago, there's quite a few men in this crowd who wouldn't have cared. I'll speak up, I promise. You know, he ended on a note that was very important to me. I'm a mother, as I'm sure that quite a few of the women here are. I have 2 children who mean the world to me. And I'm not going to see them grow up in a country where they're going to get all of their information from Facebook and from YouTube and from Twitter and from all the places where all the people who are completely against what we stand for get up on these podiums and they talk about things that they believe and things that they want to see happen to this country, the changes they want to make.
I thought to myself, this is what it's like when you go out to your granddad's house and you spend an afternoon shooting. You have an easygoing charm and a deadly aim.
Walk up to Northfield.
And you don't know the name
You don't have a gun.
of this next guy. You're apparently not watching a lot of YouTube videos.
You should phone me.
Oh, wait a second, because I have a YouTube channel too.
Yeah.
My guns and my religion. I was kind of hoping I could connect that with our next speaker just a little bit. There we go. And it is my distinct pleasure to bring up to the stage right now Hickok 45.
Jesus would shut up and listen to the next speaker.
Wait, does anybody here have a 2-liter bottle of soda pop? If you do, keep on. Oh, no, just put it away, put it away, put it away. Taking the ammo with me, Hickok. Hey, Hickok 45 here.
If I could walk on water, I wouldn't carry a gun.
Take them out and say something brilliant. I wouldn't want to miss it. But don't expect that. You know, if you are familiar with Hickok 45 ramble. I actually have a couple of bullet points, so I don't ramble and act like I'm going on my radio show. A little closer? Okay. Anyway, it's great to be here, and I've met so many of you that it's been wonderful. A lot of people locally and a lot of people who have come from afar to attend this, as John and I have. Really, really pleased to be here. This is, as I've been saying, one of the most special places I can imagine to do something like this. Is why we're willing to travel up here. I mean, how do you do any better than what's back there? You know, 1775. You know, some guy named George Washington was appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. Right back there in that building, and about 12 years later, our Constitution was hammered out right there in that building while he sat there in a chair that's still there and oversaw that for that summer of, 1887, I guess. I mean, that's just amazing, amazing to me. And here we stand. Obviously, all those fellows walked around these yards in this area, contemplated what they were doing, and here we stand, trying to continue that support. Oftentimes I'll use the phrase, I know you have too, probably. Well, I know our founding fathers are rolling over in their graves over this, and that's pretty commonly heard, especially the last couple of months and the last 4 or 5 years, right? Well, I'm not sure that's true. I'm not sure they're rolling over in their graves. My guess is they're clawing at it, trying to dig themselves out of there so they can get up here and grab somebody by the scruff of the neck and straighten things out. But unfortunately, they can't do that. That's up to us. I'm a teacher, at least I was. Well, I had the title of teacher. I don't know how much of a teacher I was always, but I taught for 29 years. And retired yesterday, actually. And thank you. My students thank me for retiring. No, we had a great time. I really miss them, and it was one of the hardest things I ever did walk away from that. But I did, and I was thinking driving up here about how in some ways our politicians are like students, because one thing we need to do with them, first of all, we give them birth, in a manner of speaking. We launch them, and then we have to oversee what they're doing. We try to provide them boundaries within which they can operate safely. And when they misbehave, it's our job to discipline them, put them in timeout, or send them back home, whatever we need to do. And we need to keep that in mind. They really are like our children in many ways. They're not out there on their own doing whatever they want to. They are more like young children. And we have to remember that we are responsible for what they do. And we've got to hold them accountable, don't we? But we like to let them think they're in charge, but they're really not, unless we let them be. Couple of things, again, as a teacher, I want to be constructive. We've had some great speeches and some folks that just made wonderful points. We all are able to make wonderful points now. I think all of us have become much better educated about our rights in the last few months, out of necessity, if we have not, right? And we can speak to the facts. The facts don't lie. We know the reality. How many people lose their lives to firearms, their cars, their swimming pools. And there are, of course, a segment of people in this country who don't care what the facts are. Their lives are emotion-driven. But we know the facts. We know the facts. We've got to do the right thing. Some things we need to do, I look at it as a short-term and long-term goal. Short-term, we've got to be ready, you and I and everybody you know who's involved in this fight, to be activated, to get motivated quickly whenever there's another incident, and we know there will be. As long as there are gun-free zones, they're going to happen. That's just human nature. We've got to get rid of the gun-free zones. That's the craziest thing I can think of. I've worked in one for 29 years, so I'm an expert. I'm an expert in gun-free zones and what it feels like to be there. And some of you too, that feeling when you might be a confident person, a confident person, someone who is very responsible with firearms, and yet you find yourself in an environment where you're just not allowed to have one, and it's not worth the risk going to jail. So I've been in that position for a long time. It's pretty strange. I've had to drive 80 miles every day, 40 each direction. Is that 80, 40, yeah, okay. So I told you I'm not too smart. But yeah, I've had to stop at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning at the ATM, or to get coffee, or to stop at Walmart, or wherever I might stop, totally unarmed all that time because of those gun-free zones. But we've got to mobilize and be ready whenever there is one of these incidents, because you know what's going to happen, of course, on the other side. They're all sitting there just waiting to get in front of a microphone like this when one occurs. We've got to be ready to write, call, email, scream, whatever it takes, make ourselves heard, make sure that we are continuing to stay in touch with our representatives, our senators. We've got to be there, not give that up. It is not over. We know that. And we've got to be ready to mobilize instantly. Let them know, yeah, we know that happened in wherever, North Dakota, Texas, Florida. It's going to happen. There's a wacko out there right now sitting in his basement who feels mistreated, who wants to get even with the world for whatever reason. It will happen. We know that. And that's the price of freedom, though. Nobody here, I don't imagine, wants to live in a police state. I don't. I'd rather risk being shot every day than live in a police state. So.
Oh yeah! Yeah!
So anyway, we got to be ready on the short term. Keep those representatives aware. Yeah, we know that happened. Don't you get blinded. Don't you get influenced by that lady in California, those characters in Washington. Just keep the faith. On the long term, we've got to be working on that too. And all of us do that, I'm sure. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. We've got to continue to represent the shooting community in a positive way, be responsible, and share the hobby, as I'm sure you all do. Make certain that we talk about it. If you can, if you possibly can, share it with your colleagues. I know that some of you have jobs where maybe that's hard to do. You're in a very gun-unfriendly, perhaps, environment or something. But if you possibly can, that's part of representing the shooting community, I think, in a positive way. I've always tried to do that. And, I've been a teacher for a long time. I've been in private education, so that's a little different. But I've never hesitated. I worked in publishing. In fact, a publisher right up here in Philadelphia. I was in the field. But I recall having a conversation at, I think it was Bookbinders or some restaurant here one day years ago with some folks that I worked with, and they made some crack about, yeah, you're in Tennessee, huh? Yeah, you got a gun rack in your pickup truck? They thought I was in the publishing world. Oh, yeah. They thought that was a joke, and I wouldn't even have probably owned a pickup truck. Well, I said, yeah, actually I do. And it's the most convenient way to carry a shotgun or a rifle in a pickup truck, unless you have extended cabs. This is back before those were so popular. It's just a regular cab. And you know what I'm talking about, a fishing rod or a long gun, there's no place to put it really conveniently. So I had to educate them a little bit right there. And they knew me. And hopefully everybody here has that going for you too. Your colleagues, your friends, acquaintances, your wife's friends who maybe don't know you all that well, but they know you're a good guy, you're a good gal. And then when they find out that you have guns or you are involved in a shooting hobby, then the wheels have to turn. Maybe if they thought guns were violent and bad and evil, well now, Rodney's got a gun, he's a good guy, you know the drill. And we just win the hearts and minds little at a time that way. So we got to represent shooters well. I'm going to try not to ramble, that's why I make notes for a change. I usually don't, but I didn't want to get off track. Last thing, teachers, as well as anybody, know that there's nothing more tragic than some of the things that have happened. I teach in taught, I just get used to using past tense. I taught in a really nice school with pre-K through 12. I've taught all levels, basically 6 through 12 at various times, but mostly in the middle school. 7th, 8th graders, 6th graders. And if you ever wonder why I'm crazy, there's the answer, right? Well, they're crazy too, and I out-crazy them. That's how I survived so long. But when I see those little kids in the cafeteria, I talked about this at a radio show. Y'all, many of you have children. I've met a lot of your children here today. Some of you watch the videos. In fact, I specifically told 2 or 3 of you to make sure you applaud when I said something that sounded stupid. Yeah, there you're right there. But I mean, they're just so cute. Those kids are just so cute, and I watch them walk through the cafeteria. The little 1st graders, 2nd graders, when we're over there eating with the older, more troublesome kids. And you just, when I think of Sandy Hook, I mean, it just chokes you up. I mean, you just can't stand, it's unthinkable, isn't it? It's unthinkable. And because we all know guns. We know what firearms do. That's what they're designed to do. It's why we have a Second Amendment. But we know the damage that they do, and it just is unthinkable. However, all of us, I'm sure, base our lives on logic. Because we're shooters, we're gun owners, we're supporters of the Second Amendment. That's why we're here. And we don't let that jeopardize our freedom. We can't let that jeopardize the Constitution. That's the short and dirty of it. We can't. There's going to be bad things happen. There's going to be crazy, especially if we don't get rid of these gun-free zones. But things will happen unless we live in a police state, as we all know. And we don't want to live there. We just have to do the very best we can. We cannot let our politicians who are trying to do anything they can to appeal to certain groups to get reelected. We can't let them jeopardize the Bill of Rights. It's that simple. And if you know my channel and our videos, I never say outrageous things, really, other than maybe stupid things, but I never use coarse language. We try to keep it family friendly, and we do keep it family friendly. We want these young people to be able to watch, and your 3-year-olds and your 6-year-olds and your 7-year-old grandmothers and everybody else to be able to watch. But I am going to say that with what's happened back here in this hall, I think of our founding fathers and what they went through, and if we let these crazy politicians, these shallow-thinking politicians who are only concerned about getting votes and being popular at the wine and cheese party, if we let them piss our rights away, we deserve it. That's all I say.
So you guys couldn't see this, so he's wanting to take the ammo away. He has his hearing protection with him.
I guess the message that I would like to deliver, and I'm going to cut it pretty short, is that we are dealing with a ruling class. They're not in the Constitution, they're not on the law books, but they're there. And they are self-appointed. They get into public office and they decide that somehow they all of a sudden have become imbued with the ability to tell us schlubs what to do, that we don't have the ability to do it ourselves. And it just absolutely frightens them that we would be walking around toting firearms.
Security guards are here. The most photographed security guards. Maybe I should go be off for this. Hey, Hickok 45 here in Philadelphia at Independence Mall, the park here. And in case you don't recognize that big bell behind us, that's the bell. I think they ring a dinner bell, perhaps. Got a big crack in it, so I guess they don't ring it too often. But pretty neat seeing it and hanging out here at the birthplace of the United States. Birthplace of the United States. Right behind me is or in front of me actually, as you see now, is of course Independence Hall. There are a couple old boys in there, got a little work done back in 1775, 1787, working on things like the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and got her done. It's a nice shot of the Liberty Bell. Really nice shot. I like that. I think we should keep it.
Dad, wake up.
Oh, that was exciting, wasn't it? That was a very interesting video, and I know that you got a big thrill out of that because you know the speeches were magnificent, right? Especially mine. I told you, I warned you, I'm not a speaker, but I tried to get up and say a few words and try not to embarrass myself. I mean, my gosh, the environment there. I mean, I don't mean to overblow that, but there you are within rock throwing distance of Independence Hall. When you think about what went on there and what that represents, that's really the reason John and I got in the car and drove up there. I mean, that was the motivation as much as anything. You know, I mean, the Second Amendment, the Bill of Rights, and in that environment, in that yard, in that park, to talk about it and to just be there is really special. And I know I don't have to tell you that. So, and I know you would like to have been there, and that's one reason we wanted to go ahead and give you what footage we did take, you know, of it. You know, whether it's spectacular or interesting or not, we wanted to share that with you. So anyway, wish you'd been with us. Some of you were. We spent a lot of time chatting with some of you characters up there, and we enjoyed that. Life is good.